Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera show. You know, Halloween is right around the corner and we've done so many shows that did things with the children for Halloween, but you know, all the adults love it too. So we're gonna do an adult dinner party, and our friends at Flowers on Broad here in Augusta have completely transformed my dining room into a spooky situation. I cannot wait for y'all to see it at the end. So we're gonna do two recipes today that are some of our all-time favorites. We're gonna start with the Portobello mushroom soup. This was the cafe favorite on Thursdays. Everybody loved it. We even sold it to go. It was so popular. I think you'll really like it, but the presentation on this, on how to serve it to make it look spooky, I just cannot wait for y'all to see it. And then we're going to do braised short ribs. You know, this is everybody's favorite. I always order it when I go out, but we're doing a sauce with that is made with blackberries and brown sugar. It's going to be amazing. You'll end up using it on other meats as well. And then we're going to add to the plate presentation to make it even spookier by doing fingerling fingers to put the meat on top, and then ghost meringues for dessert. So we've got a lot to do today. Let's get started with that Portobello mushroom soup. All right, so this is one of my favorite recipes. You know, people say, what's your favorite recipe in the book? And they're all my favorites, needless to say, because we were in the mail order business and we shipped a lot of things. But we had a cafe on Washington Road and we had a soup of the day. And this was the soup of the day on Thursday. It's our Portobello mushroom soup. And I absolutely love it. So for this adult Halloween party with 8 of my closest friends, we are going to be making this for the first course. So I've got my butter melted in my Dutch oven. So now I'm gonna add in my Portobello mushrooms. And just look at the consistency. You've got some that are a little bit larger and some that are more bite-sized. But when you're doing a soup or a stew, one of the things that you want to remember is that that is going on a spoon. And so you don't want it to be overtaking the spoon so that they can't get the cream sauce and the other vegetables that are in it. And you think, wow, that is a lot of mushrooms, Vera, but it's just like spinach. This is gonna cook down. So I've got this on about a medium heat. I'm gonna add in my green onions, spring onions, green onions, and I'm gonna say green this time because we only use the tops. And that's where all the flavor is, and it also just really adds a beautiful color to this. So what we're gonna do is just let this cook down, get those vegetables, you know, cooked, let the flavors incorporate. So I'm gonna keep this on about a medium heat. Now I'm gonna move over to the roux that's going to thicken this and make it great. So I've got more butter here, and I've got my flour measured out. And you know, our recipes, we've got several new stations, so I certainly want for those new folks to know that we always put our recipes on our website every week when we do the show. And it's VeryVera.com. You go to show and recipes, and you'll find the recipes right there. All right, so let me turn this up just a little bit. And when you're doing a roux, you have some options. You can do a very light roux once all of your flour is incorporated. You can do it that way, or you can get it a little bit brown. I recommend, however, for this one that you kind of keep it light because you are going to put it in the pot to cook for, you know, a little bit longer to get all of this incorporated. So what I'm looking for here is just a good thickness on this because you can see there is a lot of different milks going into this recipe. So let me stir this about just a minute. You can tell that the mushrooms are starting to cook down. Those onions are looking great. And you know, cream soups are so hearty for the fall. I mean, you can do that with a grilled cheese sandwich, especially if you're, you know, a vegetarian. I mean, it's the perfect meal for that. All right, so now I'm gonna add my chicken base to my milk, and this is just gonna be part of the flavor of this soup. Take my whisk back from the roux, and I just want to incorporate that. So I've got milk, I've got half and half, I've got cream, and this soup and it honestly freezes really well. So when you're making it, the recipe in the book serves 8. You know, go ahead and make 8, even if you don't need that much, because you can pop it in the freezer and pull it out when you don't have time. All right, so now I'm going to gradually add this to the roux. And if you go gradually, then you don't have to let it just sit there and cook longer and longer. It's going to stay thick. And again, this is just, you know, this would be a great teaching moment too. If you've got a young person that's interested in learning about cooking, we do so much with baking with children, but to learn how to make a white sauce, a cream sauce, there's so many dishes that use that. So I'll keep adding this and get that really nice and creamy, and then we'll get started on adding that into the soup. All right, so this, just look how beautiful that is. And I mean, I could add some wine to this, capers to this. There's so many things that you can do with a good roux or a white sauce. So I'm gonna now add that in to the pot with the vegetables. And I love to use a flat-edged wooden spoon when I do this, because when you're working with creams and that sort of thing, you want to make sure that nothing is getting too hot on the bottom. And then I've got my half and half, and then my heavy cream. And then this is going to simmer on top of the stove for 35 to 40 minutes. So you can walk away and go do something else for a few minutes and just enjoy the aroma, because it's fantastic. All right, when we come back from the break, we'll get started on those short ribs. We've got a lot to look forward to. Welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining me, I'm having a spooky party with some of my closest friends that you're going to meet at the end of the day. So we're having a lot of fun. So the Portobello mushroom soup that I've already made is nice and thick. The aroma is fantastic. And if it gets a little bit too thick, you can always get that a little bit looser with some chicken broth or just some water, because you've got so much cream in the recipe. All right, so this recipe is for the short ribs, braised short ribs. And we actually did a recipe very similar to this in season 1 with my special guest, Tyler Florence, and it was a fantastic show. And honestly, this is season 13, so it's just time to do short ribs again. And so there was a little bit that I had to do in advance. So I had my butter melted in my Dutch oven. I put in my celery, carrots, and onions, and I just let those saute. And then I patted down the short ribs just to get the moisture off, so that the salt and pepper would stick really well to those. And so now all of that's done, and I'm getting ready to get these nice and braised. So the butter looks just great. And what we want to do here is do the fat side down to sear these. Hear that nice sound? That's what we're looking for. You know, short ribs come in all different sizes and shapes. So I want to make sure each of my guests gets 2. So I'll probably have to do this in 2 batches. So I'll just push these over. But if you have your heat on about medium high, this is going to cook for quite a while in the oven. So all I'm trying to do is get a nice brown sear to this. And because these are kind of thick, we'll also want to do a little bit on each side. So just kind of keep your eye on those. Okay, so let's start flipping these over to the other side. So that's exactly what we're looking for right there, is just a nice sear. And you know, this is one of those things that there's a few steps, it takes a little bit, but it's so worth it in the end, because this, you know, cooks in the oven for about 2.5 hours. So once you've done this part, you can finish out the rest of your meal. All right, so at some point, you know, we're going to want to flip these on the side. So I'll let these cook for just another couple of minutes. All right, so those are looking good. I'm gonna turn it and get the sides done. And you know, I picked these up at the fresh market, and they don't always have them. So what you might want to do, and I always recommend, if you really love to cook, you need to get friendly with the butcher, because that's when you'll know when things are going to be on special. But you can just call ahead and make sure that they have them and ready to go. All right, so now I'm going to transfer these to a plate to get the rest of this going. Because like I said, these are going to finish off and get completely done in the baking process in the oven. We've just gotten a nice sear. Okay, all of my short ribs are done. I've taken the excess fat and drained it off. I've added butter, and now I'm going to add in some freshly chopped garlic, fresh garlic. I mean, can it get any better than what we're doing right here today? I mean, it is just aroma city and just some of my favorite foods. All right, so now I'm going to add in an entire bottle of red wine. Ooh, this is so beautiful. And this is going to cook down, and this sauce is amazing. Like I said, you might be grilling steaks, and you could make this to go on top of them, and you would be a hit. All right, so now this is going to cook down until there's about a cup left in the pan. So this will take a little bit. Oh, just look at that. And I mean, honestly, if I got a measuring cup out, that's almost exactly a cup. Love it. All right, so now I'm going to add back in these beautiful vegetables. They're still bright and colorful. We're going to just cover the bottom with that. And then I've got my spare ribs. We're going to add those back in with the bone side down. Ah, it's just going to be fantastic. And it's going to get even thicker as it cooks. So my oven is preheated to 325. Like I said, you've got other things you can go do, because this cooks for 2.5 hours, and your house is going to smell amazing. Got some fresh herbs to go on top to make it even better. And then I want to cover it with beef broth. I'll put the lid on it and get that in the oven. And when we come back, we're going to make this amazing sauce I keep talking about. This is going to go over it when you serve it. And my friends are hungry, so come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and these short ribs are smelling amazing. It's just so great in here. So we had a little bit that we went ahead and did. We got this out of the oven. We had made one the day before, so it was all ready to go. I've removed the short ribs from the pot into a bowl, and just some of them are just falling off the bone. This dish is so good. And then I took the vegetables and everything and poured it into a strainer in a glass bowl to get rid of all of those vegetables, because we really want this sauce to be just very smooth and lovely. So we've done that. So now this blackberry part of this final sauce that's going to go on top, I've got my blackberries in my pot, and I'm going to add in a tablespoon of brown sugar. So certainly I've got on my nice apron, but I want to remind you that when you are smashing blackberries, that you want to be careful. Just take your time, because that blackberry juice is hard to get out. But I'll give you this little tip. Blue Dawn gets most anything out. We live by it around here. All right, so we're just smashing these down to open up those juices. I'm going to put this on a medium high, and then this is going to reduce. So the brown sugar is just going to bring out the flavor of that blackberry, and then add the sweetness to it. This is going to be great with the rest of this fabulous broth that was in the pot. Just look at these blackberries. I mean, that reduced down beautifully. All right, so we don't want those blackberry seeds in this sauce. So I'm going to move over here to another bowl that I have with a strainer. And we're going to just mesh those blackberry seeds right out of this. So I'm sure you're thinking, this is a lot of trouble, Vera. But you know, sometimes it's just nice to get in the kitchen and enjoy the aromas, and the final product is so worth it. All right, so I'm just going to take the smaller spatula, and you're really just moving this around, because there is some bulk in that, but eventually you'll get what you're looking for there with this reduction. All right, so that looks about right. And honestly, I might throw some peanut butter on some bread with that a little bit, have a sandwich. Looks amazing. Okay, I'm gonna come right back over there with this. All right, so now this is the sauce that I took out of the pot earlier after I removed the short ribs. And I'm just gonna take a bigger spoon, and I'm just gonna try to get a little bit of that fat off of there before I put it back in the pot. And you might have one of those fat separators at home that you could use for this. All right, so now I'm gonna move this back to the original pot. And see how much fun I'm having? You can have this much fun too. All right, so I'm gonna turn this back on to about a medium high. I'm gonna add in this amazing blackberry reduction. My friends that are coming to this party are going to think I'm a gourmet cook for sure today. And I just can't wait for y'all to see the presentation. All right, so we're gonna let this cook. And then I've got cornstarch to do a slurry. If I don't think it's quite thick enough, I will add that to it to thicken it up. So when we come back from the break, I'm going to change into my little costume for the party, and I can't wait to introduce you to my friends. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and I am the server for the dinner party tonight, and I am so thrilled with the fact that all of my guests were on time, and the room looks amazing. So we have Edgar and Autumn, Raven, Vincent, and Spooky Ann. So I'm so excited that they're here, and just look at the transformation of my dining room. You have seen it in so many different capacities, but you have never seen it quite like this. So I'm so excited. And part of what is making this so special is elements that you can pick up yourself. We've put dry ice in the silver goblets just to give that glowy, spooky look to those. The lighting in general is great, but these skeletons are just plastic skeletons that are in the chairs with all different types of accessories so you know who is who. And I cannot thank Flowers on Broad and Augusta enough for putting all of this together. They have done an amazing job, so creative. So, you know, be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook about where all of this came from and how it came together. So let's talk about the recipes we made today. We started with the Portobello mushroom soup. This is a thick and creamy soup. And, you know, presentation is everything to the VeryVera show. So don't just put that soup in a bowl, garnish it, make it look amazing. So what we've done is moss that you can pick up at a craft store to go around on the charger plate. The bowls that Replacements Limited sent are just fabulous. Perfect for this theme. And then we did mushrooms to kind of enhance the fact that it's a mushroom soup. So it really does have that scary look to it, but it's going to be so exciting to eat it because it is just absolutely delicious. If the soup is too thick when you make it, you can certainly make it thinner with some chicken broth or water. All right, so those braised short ribs are fat and juicy. very much unlike the guests that we have today. So as I said, that meat is going to fall right off the bones, and these people really need to eat those short ribs. So it just turned out beautifully on the plate. It's got a fantastic blackberry sauce that goes over it. But what we've done in the presentation there is we just halved little fingerling potatoes, cut out a little wedge at the top, added an almond, and painted the nails green. So you've got that witch's hand right up under those short ribs. It just looks great. So how in the world are you going to get all of this ready to serve? Well, as we showed you earlier, these things can be made in advance. The soup can even be frozen. And when it's time to reheat things, you want to go slowly with it. So, add some additional liquid to the soup. Same thing with the short ribs. You can put more wine or more of the beef broth just to get it heated up 10 or 15 minutes, especially if you've pulled it out of the refrigerator and let it come to room temperature. If the beef is too tangy, you can add some more brown sugar, or if you want to cut some of the wine, you can add some lemon juice. So I certainly want to thank my partners at Replacements Limited, everything from the silverware, the goblets, the plates, everything. And on Instagram and Facebook, we're going to have a diagram for where you can order and what the patterns were for each one. And then again, Flowers on Broad, I cannot thank my friends down there enough for putting this together. And remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. Even if it's spooky, you can do it well.